Welcome. What's good, everybody? Welcome. It is Thursday. You know what Thursday means. It is time for Alckemy, that is me, to beat your block. Welcome to my castle. I am your host, Alckemy. And today, I am going to beat your block. As always. Welcome to the channel. Hopefully you guys are doing well. I got a couple things to talk about before we get started. Give me 1 second. Okay, we've got 3 people that have submitted so far. Bunch of Team Ponzu, Lex Raptor, Zebra, and that's pretty much it. So if you are coming in and you've got something to submit, then I suggest that you submit your work in progress. Hello! Let me move this out of the way. Look, it's me right there. There we go. It's a little Alckemy avatar. We're playing Animal Crossing. Isn't that cool? So he's chilling. He's just staring up at the sky with existentialism. And he won't bother anybody. So just have something to look at, something visual while we listen to tunes. Because I don't feel like being on camera today. Actually, it's not that I don't feel like being on camera. It's that my phone is getting close to dying. So yeah, Saturday, guys, there will be no vodcast stream, and the reason why is because someone is coming into town and I'm going to spend time with them. Let's see what else. I might not even continue to do that just because nobody is watching it. Nobody's watching really any of the content that I'm putting out, so I'm kind of thinking about changing everything up again to try to see if some other stuff sticks. I'm not sure if YouTube is not recommending my content or if it's just not interesting or both, which is totally fine. But I am always trying to cater towards making my viewers happy, but also coming up with interesting things to sit and binge watch. So if anybody has any suggestions, go throw it in the Discord. Speaking of Discord, if you are brand new to the channel, welcome. I would really appreciate it if you dropped a sub. Trying to hit that 10K mark. We've got a special giveaway at 10K. Oh, long-winded. Yeah, so if you're brand new and you've never been here, go to Alckemy's Laboratory. It is in the description on YouTube. I think I have a link. You can hit ! Discord there, and then just go to Alckemy Beats Your Block and submit a non-finished tune. A tune that is incomplete, preferably very far from being incomplete. Not talking about it's done, but it's not done because I don't know what to do with it. No, no, no. I'm talking about one that you're like halfway through and, you know, I don't know, something of the sort. Honestly, I haven't been getting notifications for it. Are your notifications turned on for my channel? Hey, in here, guys. Come on. Well, it's on the YouTube channel. I mean, I upload like what, 3-4 times a day, or not that much, 3-4 times a week. So, that's a bummer. I don't know why. Dude, my tune started 6 hours ago. A few people walked me through though. I tried this DMB. I tried DMB this time. A few people walked. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, it's all good. So as of now, that's crazy. I don't know. A lot of people have been telling me that they've not been recommending my content even though the notifications are turned on. So that's pretty unfortunate. I don't know what to do about that. But you guys know that I upload 3-4 times a week. So hi, I'm new here, listening to you right now on YouTube. Okay, cool. Welcome, Ascidian. Welcome to the stream. What else was I going to talk about? Yeah, so I'm going to be just planning some new stuff just because, like I said before, nobody's really watching any of my shit. So, which is fine. Speak with your wallets and your attention, I guess, while I continue to compete for it. Anywho, we've got a few submissions now. We've got a bunch of Team Ponzu, we've got Lex, we've got Zebra, we've got Ascidian. And I think I'm going to wait for maybe like 2 more. So get your homies in here. Tell them to submit some stuff if they want some feedback. I try to make my feedback relatively insightful and not here to waste your time. Other than that, how are you guys? What's going on in your lives? tasty. Okay, I gotta shut this door. Move your feet, Blast. Move your paws. Jeez. Okay, hopefully you cannot hear the stuff that's going on in the background. My house is so freaking loud. It is crazy. I just got my medical card. I guess Montana isn't recreational yet, is it? I guess a lot of states aren't. That's crazy. Temp card. Well, still, that's good. It's good to be legal. Yum. I missed your Thursday streams a few times as well. Discord didn't give me any notifications, but I think that was my Discord problem, so I will try to come up with a solution. It might be... Well, I mean, I stream pretty much the same time every Thursday, and it's not, like, quite exact, but it's been, like this for at least a couple months now, I want to say, where I've been doing it late night, or later at night, as opposed to during midday, or I guess, like, early afternoon, but it's almost always, like, Thursdays around 7:30, 8 at the latest. But, like, not legal at the moment, just not... Oh, not illegal, just not legal to sell or distribute. Oh, okay, gotcha. I see a lot of 1 hour long videos, maybe divide them into multiple 20-15 minute videos. That, for me personally, makes the video more bingeable. Well, like, you have to realize what the content is about, right? So, like, if you take a look at what those videos are, there's not really... They're all kind of the just break it up, you know, or watch what you want. I don't know. I don't think that I'm going to be doing super long videos anymore anyways, just because it is a lot of effort with very little return. But Rec's going to be taxed 20%, medical 4%, so I figured I'd get a card. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, like if I'm like covering a track or something, which is what I've been doing mostly, then it doesn't make sense to break that up into multiple videos. And then on Saturdays, I've been uploading the oh my god, what's it called? I've been uploading the vodcasts, and that's just like an upload of the current broadcast or whatever. And then I recently put up a review over in Rage, which, you know, I'm not going to do like part 1 and part 2 because it's kind of the same thing. The soundscape though was pretty cool. Well, what do you want me to do? Anyways, I guess more people will come in as time goes on, so let's cut my music off and let's get to your guys' music. We're going to start with Bunch of Team Ponzu, and I already said all of your names. Get your homies in here, we'll do some feedback. If it's just you guys, then I guess it'll be a short stream tonight. We'll see what happens. But yeah, let's get it. Yo, what up, Garen? Welcome. Hey, German. Well, that was definitely interesting. I think that like some things that you should consider is it sounds like either A, you turn your drums down during the switch up, or B, you make everything else louder on top of the drums to try to like compete with that. And that's one thing that will make that really difficult to make it seem like there's kind of some flow that goes together. But what I would say overall is that everything that you have is super dry. So you don't really have like any depth to your mix or to like your instruments or any kind of like real, how do I say, like they don't have, your instruments don't have a relationship yet. It's kind of just like, well, I've got a melody, I've got a bass, and then I've got drums, but they're not really talking to each other in such a way that makes sense in that, you know, particular thing. Part of that is with the mixing aspect of it, of like doing proper sidechaining and stuff, but the other aspect of that is being a little bit more creative with like how you place them and how you phrase them, right? Because if you listen to this like right at the beginning, we'll talk about this because you asked about it with transitions and stuff, but well, now this is just as loud with these two. So now it seems like they're yelling at each other, right? And there's not really something that has like an introduction with that or build up in that sense. And so what I probably would have done is maybe filtered the drums in before starting that, or maybe not having all of the drums like being like the full loop or whatever, or having some kind of pad introduce the purpose that the melody is serving. Like, why do you have, and I'm not saying this like, I'm saying this to think critically, not saying this as in you made a mistake, but what was the purpose of the melody? You know, what is that serving to do? Is that supposed to be an emotional thing? Is it just there because you wanted to have a melody? How is that enhancing or helping shape the story that you're trying to create? And regarding transitions, like it's really just a matter of using a bunch of samples or using ambience or using different types of layers. It could be Foley, it could be reverse snares, it could be impacts, something of that sense to create tension and then eventually build up to a release. And most of the time, whenever you transition or you do a switch up like that, you're basically giving some kind of signal or cue. So instead of thinking of the idea of the word transition, it should be more so in the sense of I'm giving somebody an audible cue, you know, and that way it kind of takes it out of the space of is it supposed to be smooth, is it supposed to be a jump cut? It's just a segmentation of linking two chains together. And a lot of times whenever you do that, it really just depends on where you're going with the story aspect. Is it getting more energetic? Is it mellowing out? Is it just introducing the same energy but a different idea? Are you bringing in some kind of musical aspect? And those are the kinds of things that you should try to borrow on in order to shape your transitions. And that's why a lot of times whenever you're making music, why a lot of people do their transitions last, because they make a transition that is centered around the two parts that aren't connected, if that makes sense. So I definitely think that even with your drums, you can add some kind of space to them because they're super dry in that sense. And just in general, having some kind of even just room reverb, I think would do really well for this. But changing the dynamics of this, because everything is kind of just up front and up dry, it's up front, like super dry in that sense, doesn't really help that out. And then if you take a listen to like how everything starts to feel like it's competing with each other on the second instance, and that's not to say that your piano and all of these other elements aren't interesting, but they just compete with each other. And it's even the phrasing that you have. And so I know that like it's really easy to go into the idea about mixing and stuff, but if you listen to the drums right now, it just sounds like you have a drum loop over that, right? Because you're supposed to, because that's what everybody does, which is fine. But if you can have a little bit more intent with it when you start putting this stuff together of being like, well, what is this drum break supposed to be doing? And can you give it a relationship with the piano? So maybe you have like some kind of snare roll or something with some of the phrases or main parts that are emphasizing the rhythm of the piano melody, or maybe you are creating a call and response between those. Because it sounds like you've kind of started that with the stop and go drum loop. But well, at least when you first drop that in, but it seems like there's still a lot more that you could do with that, right? So like maybe you can have some kind of crash or something that is playing whenever those chords play, and then you kind of ease up on the drums whenever the melody's going, but that way you're creating space and you're creating this dynamic relationship in between the two. And I think that's pretty much like the big theme that I would give for you in order to answer the questions that you're asking. What else should I add? What can I do to make it more interesting? How can I make the transitions more smooth? All of that stuff. And this isn't even regarding drum and bass. This is regarding any kind of tune that has a full suite of sounds within them. You know, it sounds like you know how to add melody and harmony and stuff, but when you're talking about adding all of these instruments together in such a way, make them matter. I think that's the best way that I can describe that, is make them matter. And whatever that means to you will have to be how you interpret that, but that's what I would give to you. I'm sorry that's really abstract advice, but that's probably why you're here, is for the abstract advice. So take it for what you will. But but it's a cool tune. Just keep working on it. And at the very least, if you're like, just tell me something to do, add some reverb somewhere, give it some space, and I think that will take it a long way. It doesn't need to be much, but just a little bit of space will go a long way. All right, Lex, you are next. I went full jazz fusion. I know nothing about what I should do or even am doing. Okay. Ah, the snare. Lex. Will you save this stream? No, I never save feedback streams. I'll tell you why in just a second. Oh. What the fuck? Alckemy stream? Okay. Alright, hold on. Let's put the feedback thing on just put it to the side for a sec. Hi, Collie. Good to see you, buddy. No, I don't save these streams. And the reason why is because people release their tunes often without changing much of the song, and so I get copyrighted for it. So as opposed to saying, no, I'm not going to do feedback on your tunes, I just delete the stream after. People will control F feedback and post their finished stuff. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Well, I specifically state that I don't do finished tunes. Thanks for that. It was extremely helpful, and I will try to implement the things you said. You just told me. Also with my previous tracks, also your feedback helped me a lot. So just want to say thank you. Yeah, dude, for sure. Thanks for submitting. It keeps this stream going. Okay, Lex. On one end, there's some stuff that you're doing here that I really like. I hate your snare, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second. After these messages, do you struggle with music production? Are you tired of old rap music being the same? Take a private lesson with that. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so the problem with this, with your, sorry, the problem with your snare is that it doesn't fit the tune. Like, it's completely, like, the energy of the tune of the snare is completely contrasting towards the rest of what you have. I would have much rather you had some kind of like stick hit or some kind of clap or some kind of delayed thing that actually fit the aesthetic of the tune. But that snare does not fit whatsoever. And you can make it fit, but it's sticking out like a sore thumb just because it's like, oh, we're here, it's super chill. Then you've got, and then the saxophone comes in, and it's like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? So on one end, I can hear some effects, but what instrument is this? I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. So on one instance, right, I really like what you're doing with building the, how about my dying turtle snare? No, not the turtle. Please, not the turtle. Sounds like a D&B snare. I like what you're doing. Okay, so just like how I was talking about with Team Ponzu's tune, how he wasn't really focusing on like building the world together. For the most part, with the musical aspects that you do have, there is something there. And in fact, I would ask you, or I would encourage you to take that further, because right now you've got this not necessarily menacing, but like you have this really cool contrast between like the really chill sax and jazz instruments with this bass that keeps creeping in. But then you open up the filter right here, and then you do nothing with it, and then you almost restart it. And I think that instead I would have built this over time and eventually led this into something to where the bass takes over and has a speaking part of its own, because it seems really cool. And that could actually be a way that you can actually blend this particular piece into something that goes into being more electronic, because and like I can even hear that being rhythmic of like you know, or something like that, where like the rhythm and the beat changes, but the bass takes over, and then you have some kind of really big buildup, and then it slows back down and goes back into the sax aspect. So I think that I don't know if you see that or not, or rather if you hear that, or if you vibe with that vision, but that's probably what I would do with this tune, just because you kind of already set yourself up for it to tell that story. But with your snare, yeah, like you need to, like, that snare just seems like you scroll through your sample pack and pick the first one that you found without listening to it, and then it totally doesn't fit. So yeah, anyways, I like the vibe of this. And you can even use the same snare. Like you can actually low pass it and then maybe add some bit crushing and add like Foley on top of it to maybe restore some of the high end stuff. So that way it sounds like it's kind of breaking or something. But as it stands now, it's just it doesn't. Every stream, hey Alckemy, what do you think about my tune? Your snare is too loud. Your snare. No, that's a snare. No, just kidding. All right, but good stuff, Lex. All right, that's me. Zebra, you're next. I'd like ideas on the trappy part to make it more interesting at 49 seconds and maybe something at 2 minutes as well. Do you think I need something else to blend better at 2:24? Oh, hey, ABSL. Is this the same song you've been sending in for like 6 months? 3 a.m. hits different. Wait, what? Zebra, stop posting gang signs in my chat. Where you from? Bitch, I'm from C sharp Mixolydian B flat 6, motherfucker. No, I'm just kidding. Alright, so the first part doesn't really is like almost complete opposite towards your main section. I swear I've heard this a billion times. And it's not that it's bad by any means, but there's memes. Gang Meliodas from the Blood Gang. No. Okay, so really, like, you've got this really nice chord progression right here that I think that you could try to implement right here. But what you want to do is, like, maybe even think about taking some of this, like, color bass stabs that you have and starting to fade that in. Maybe like with the high pass filter or something. But right now it's just a complete switch up. And you're also not, like, there's nothing that's being built up right here other than just this chord progression and like this main lead, which I would argue that this lead isn't really working as it is right now. And I think the reason why is because it's too static and borderline sharp in certain parts. So like if you can, you know what would be really freaking cool? Okay, here's an idea. What I would do is I would take that main lead and slowly start to mix in the same processing that you have on that color base into the lead, so it transforms into that. And like maybe as you're doing that, like the reverb aspect keeps getting bigger and bigger, and you can have some kind of rising action with that. And then when the main section hits, that would actually make a lot more sense. That would actually be really freaking cool. And what I would do with this section as well is like it's cool, but it's really, again, very contrasting towards this, and it needs the parts that you have here are cool, but there needs to be some kind of overall ending theme. Like there needs to be some kind of motif or something that like repeats itself or shows itself through the rest of the tune. And I think that if you can figure that out, then everything else within this would make sense. But as of now, like this part just seems like a completely different song. Then you've got this part, which I know you've been working on for a long time. I swear I've heard this before. Not that it's bad. I know I've heard this. And then you've got this part, right? But like it all kind of is just, you know, it's all just kind of there. And so like one other thing that I would suggest too is that, within that transition thing that you have right there, how long do we have to have been producing to upload, and is it okay to upload non-DMB? I'm not very good. Yeah, as long as the tune is like not even close to being done. I'm making an exception for Abiasol. But if you have a work in progress that's not like, 6 minutes, it's not 5.5 minutes, I'll take a listen to your tune. You just join the Discord and post your whip. Please don't send me finished tunes. Oh, shit. Sorry. Hold on. But other than that, there's no limit. You don't have to be of a certain caliber to be able to submit. I take everybody. Except if it's country, dude, you're out of luck. I'm sorry. So yeah, this little thing right here where like it almost sounds like you've got a ring mod or a tremolo thing. I would have some kind of impact that leads into that, because there was like, I thought something was wrong with my audio when that came in. Yeah. So having some kind of little riser right there of like, or even a kick or something will really like help that. I do like that transition, but it's not working quite yet. There needs to be some other kind of element that's like making the change a little bit more obvious, because again, I don't know if you heard it or not, but when I first listened to it, I was like, what? Oh, it's part of the tune. And like, I thought that it was actually something wrong with my sound or something, so to speak. So yeah, I think like as far as, let me take a look at your actual questions with your transitions. Okay, 49. Okay, yeah, we talked about that. So I also think that like, even if you don't take my advice on the lead becoming like the color base or something, I still think that there's other things that you can add to make it more interesting. Like, I don't know what synth you're using, but if you have sync within this MIDI, assuming it's in MIDI, but if you have sync, like that's a really cool thing to add a really long envelope over time to make it kind of like buzz just a little bit more. And I think that would give it a lot more character to make it seem like it's moving. But right now it just seems really static. Yeah, so just add some kind of spectrum morphing to it with an envelope, and make it change over time for those sustained notes. And I think that will help you out a lot with making that more interesting in general. And then you can harmonize it too, because right now it's just that lead standing on its own. So maybe at certain points in the rhythm or something, you can harmonize it with other elements, which I think would be kind of cool. You got options. It's really just a matter of what you want to do. Okay, at 2 minutes, let me see here. Yeah, okay, so I can tell that like you add an element right here, so maybe something that you can do is have like some kind of filter and have that come in, or do like a reverb shot, like a dum 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 dum, and like change the dynamics of the tune right there if you're wanting to make that more dramatic. And then let's see at 224. Okay, so having some kind of riser right here, and some kind of build-up would be really cool. But other than that, I actually think that this was the smoothest transition of the tune that you have. Yeah, that's what I would do for that one. Yeah, dude. I swear I've heard this a billion times. It sounds like you're memeing me, but it's cool because it sounds like you keep doing something different to this idea, like over and over and over and over again. You'll figure it out. Just keep working on it, man. All right. Now we have Sedian, and then we have Abiasaw, and then we've got Nuko, and then we've got Finn, and then we've got I Know I'm Awful and Finn are typing. Okay, that helps a lot. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah, for sure, dude. You know how I do. Hey, I have a question since I've got a few of you in the chat. I'm thinking about maybe doing a secondary feedback stream, but just for members on Discord, and maybe opening that up to where, like, if you're a regular member or something, I'll do another feedback day to where you can send me whatever the hell you want, like even a finished tune, or something that is a remix contest, or something that is copyrighted already, or whatever. But I can stream on Discord without having to worry about being copyrighted. I just can't do it on YouTube, but I'm just trying to justify a way to get people to actually come to that, for one, so that way I'm not wasting my time, but also seeing if like there's some merit to that, or if people would rather just have them send in work in progresses. It wouldn't take away from today, because today this feedback thing is my most popular thing that I do. So if you have any thoughts on that, let me know. Okay, Sedian. Hi, I'm new here. Listening to you right now on YouTube. Okay. No. Is this Russian? Oh, this is German. Hey, dude. So this was actually pretty cool, and I think that like your main section is off to a good start, especially within your intro. Like something that I can tell that you're playing around with is dynamics, and I would actually like you to explore that a lot more, because that will make your impacts and stuff a lot bigger. Like if you listen to this right here, having some kind of, and then whenever it gets to this part, like make this part even more quiet. And then as that continues to grow, like that builds a lot of tension in that way, and like you've half got it right, but there's, hey Sam, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do in order to make this a lot bigger in that way. And then it's kind of strange that you've got like a little bit of a riser right here, but you don't have one right here. So like, you know, you can really abuse that stuff with a lot of reverb and all that to make this even bigger. And one thing to consider too is that like, even though like you've got something in the background that's trying to build tension and stuff, you can also make this bigger by making your synths bigger with reverb or more harmonics or other risers or layering or something that creates like a little bit of a wall of sound. But you can hear that the stuff that you have in the background isn't really, it's just kind of there. It's not really like, it's not really adding to the drama, if that makes sense. And what you want to do is try to make that aspect as dramatic as possible. And then also, you kind of want to be mindful of that reverse kick, because I think what you did was you took your 808 and added a reverse kick in that way, but I can hear that it's got way too much distortion, as you can tell that it's clipping. So that's like a minor thing, but see how it's like, that's one thing that you might want to be considerate about. And then when you get to this section right here, the boom, boom, like having some kind of downshifter or some kind of noise thing like could be useful. I think that you can make this work without it, but that's something that would be easier to do, if that makes sense. And then for the most part, like I actually really like this part of the tune. I think if you have some kind of chord thing in the back, like whoom, and then like cut it off or something, or kind of delay out, that would help fill out some of the spaces that you have for the emptiness. Or a melody, or some kind of, you know, some kind of thing, but you can tell that there's a space there that wants to be filled. And in fact, I would bring back maybe this melody or whatever melody that you have right here, and then I would go into the clap build of like clap, 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 boom, 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 boom. Right? But that's a pretty easy fix. I think that if you can find some kind of melodic thing right here, or some kind of pad or some kind of ambience, that would easily take you into the next part, and you can just add a clap build up and then repeat this section, and then maybe at the end you go back to this and your tune is done. That's what I would do for that one. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, ABSL, we're next. We've got Nuko. Can't seem to get the second half of the song the way I want it. I took your advice from last time. A bit shy about this. I'm really quite new. I'll copy paste what I wrote on SoundCloud. Thank you, bruh. Thank you. You know, for a newbie, you understand. For a newbie, you're like the only person that gets this etiquette. Thank you. Thank you a lot. Yeah, for sure, man. You could do feedback in voice chat where everyone gives feedback at the end. Wait, what?
As he lies on the ground, the final moments, the final pulsations of his life pass by, and he reminisces about his life. This is the story the track is telling. I am actually glad I built a track around a story, since, well, I haven't really done that. Bass idea started from that reminiscing from past memories, but then the clock gave me time. And then I thought it'd be cool to add a story element in this track. I also try to get myself to do what I like to sometimes nitpicky about stuff just as a listener, which destroys. The joy of making music to this track was me doing it for myself and enjoying it. I'm really happy with how it turned out.
I wanted to like read it as quickly as possible so I could listen to the rest of the tune. that faster next time, too slow. Definitely a wide boy. Man, that change up, that one got me. That was so nice. That was super cool. Okay, so like, hold on, let me think about this for a second, because I do have a few suggestions, although not many. Regarding the intro, I think that if you can find a way to introduce this
As he lies on the ground, the final moments, his...
Wait, let me try to rephrase this.
As he lies on the ground in his final moments, the everlasting pulsations of his experiences pass by as he reminisces about his life.
I don't know, something like that. We hear life 3 times. Wait, twice. So I was like, but no, I get it. I get the story, and I like this. But if you can think about personifying this or exemplifying this right here, as in like maybe, you know, you set the setting, because right now you have the character and you have the event and the instance. But if you've got something of like, where is this person dying? Why is he breathing his final moments? Why is this happening to him or something? And you do that with like characterization of like either Foley or something happening in the background, right? Maybe you open the tune with a gunshot. Do. I mean, that would be pretty fucked up, but that would also be pretty funny. Not that I'm trying to joke about your tune, but what I'm saying is the more that you can, I think that were you here for that stream where I was making this, like, the storytelling aspect stuff? Were you part of that stream? Because I have something, I can play something for you that might be relative towards what I'm trying to exemplify. If you already were, then I'm not gonna waste your time. But okay, cool. So so I've been doing like freeform writing as of late, and this isn't to try to self-promo or anything, but I wrote this story. It's a very simple story. Hold on. Let me find it. Oh, yeah, here we go. Okay, so an abandoned robot in a forest making dying noises, revealed through sun rays. So this is all like visual stuff that I'm describing that I'm trying to think about applying sound to, right? And so what I did was, once I had this story, and it's not the best story or whatever, but it's just a scene that I'm describing that I had in my head, I wrote this to it, excuse me, which didn't necessarily have like timing or context. So what I'm doing right now is describing the forest. There's the robot. And then I'm trying to bring in all the other elements and stuff about what's kind of coming in, if that makes sense. And then over time, like, I tell the story, like, literally through these ideas and stuff about what's happening within the tune. Anyway, so yeah, I'm literally telling the story, like, in literal senses about what I have that I'm describing. Well, I guess more real ambient stuff could give more sense about the location. Well, I mean, you could do it, whatever idea relates to you, and I give you this advice a lot, right? But however you relate what I just gave to you, and it means that makes sense to you, is how you should do it, because that's what makes sense to you, right? That's what the whole point of this is. But having either some kind of ambience or some kind of, you know, narrative right here that describes this, because you've like created such a parallel story to this, is what I would do personally. And then that can lead up to this part, which would, you know, kind of have that, like, you know, life flashing before my eyes type thing. And I think that if you did that, then that would give this like a crazy, like, a much more wholesome story aspect to it, if that makes sense. So one thing that I would say, as far as like mix wise, is Sam said that he would take some white noise out of the main synth, but I actually do think that your tune is overall like kind of dark. Maybe you did that on purpose, but like that synth right there or something does seem a little bit dark in that aspect. So that's just a general thing. Feel free to disagree with that, but that was just something I noticed throughout the rest of the tune. And then what I have also, like, another thing that I have right here is that this is my favorite moment of the tune right here. And even though I love this switch up that you did, like, I really want this to be longer. I really want this to be longer. This was so nice and so pleasant to listen to. But even still, when you do a key change, like, it might even be worth considering making this transition just a little bit longer. And like, on one end, I have to say it might, because, dude, no worries. I say it might because it's not that this doesn't work, but I feel like you have like an emotional like opportunity right here to make this really deep when this transitions into itself. And like, I get why you did that, and it does work, but I feel like you can even elongate that out, or at least make this part a little bit longer. But like, I really wanted to hear more of this. That's fucking perfect, dude. That's so good. I love your music. Yeah, I love your music, and you know that. But yeah, I just want more of this right here. And then, like, as maybe a crescendo or something, like, you can kind of go into that part of where you do that key change. And that was a beautiful change, and it worked really well and made me smile. But it just, I wasn't done with this yet. I was not done. So adjust this really quick before everything turns off. Okay. So, yeah. Aside from that, that's all I really have for you. I don't really think that this needs much else. It's pretty wholesome, to be honest. And I would say just do me a favor and create like a separate mix or something of just this part, making that longer, and then I'll take that part, and then everybody else can have this version or whatever version is meant to be. Do it for your boy. But yeah, dude, super cool tune. Everybody should go subscribe to you because obviously you make killer music. So that's what I got. A lot of ideas. Awesome. Yeah, sometimes I give you ideas and you're like, eh. Sometimes I give you ideas and you're like, oh, that's what the stream is for. Okay, can't seem to get second half of the song the way I want it. Not sure what it is. Thanks for your feedback. What if I don't have any feedback?
What if I have nothing?
Oh, this reminds me of a tune. I can't remember what it is though.
Break it.
Whatever melody you have in the background is way out of key. Whatever's playing right now. The woo woo. Yeah, that thing is really out of key. It doesn't make sense to the tune whatsoever. Yeah, like it almost brings like this aspect of cheesiness to it because it's like let me see if I can find that melody like on my guitar and maybe it'll make sense if I play it. It's like yeah, that's what that sounds like to me. It sound I think that might actually be what you're playing. It's like wait. It's like major, and it's just like, wait, what? No. It's... Anyways, it's not something that's too noticeable, and like that sound in particular is quiet, but I don't think that it's helping your track by any means. So like, Okay, actually, like, for the most part with this tune, I don't think that you need to, like, do any crazy stuff to it in order to make it finished. I think that you just need to keep adding and exaggerating what you've already got. So, like, you've got a lot of glitches and you've got a lot of phrases and you have a lot of moments that are really cool. But what I would focus on is making those moments bigger. What I would focus on is adding elements to your transitions and stuff. Like, this is a really long transition that you have right here to go into this final part. But maybe whenever you get to this like final section, you can just like do like an IDM aspect thing of just like, all right, let me listen to this really quick. You know, yeah. You know, shit like that, because like you're already kind of doing it, right? And like a lot of ideas that you have through here, I don't know if anybody caught that or not, but a lot of the ideas that you have through here like already kind of have that aspect, but it seems like you only kind of touched on a lot of those moments and stuff. And I think that if you really got down and deep and dirty into that, like this tune could be like nuts. There's this halftime tune that has a very similar riff that I thought that you would enjoy, but I can't remember the name of the tune, but it's really cool. And if I remember, then I'll send it to you. It's on my Spotify playlist, but I haven't used Spotify in like a year or two. So and I don't feel like going to dig it up and then trying to like sift through how many songs it's going to take me to find it. So I'll look at it on my own time and then see if I can send it to you. But yeah, I think that like it's just a matter of trying to make those moments bigger and stuff. So like if you listen to this, see, like that was an excellent moment. And like you can even like splash that out with reverb and then cut it off and stuff. But really just like taking that stuff and trying to even everything out in that way, I think is off to a really good start. And I would definitely take off that ringing sound that you have, just because it's like, I'm not gonna lie, I thought this tune was gonna go in a completely different direction from like hearing that sound. But even still, if you listen to some of these things, yeah, like there's so many like way cooler things that you could add instead of that little melody thing that you have over there. And I think that's actually killing your first drop. Like if you were to do some kind of granular synth or something, or like just go watch my soundscape tutorial and like create a soundscape over this instead, or have like things that are delayed that are kind of like spooky in aspect of like bump da bump dum da bump da bump dum. Yeah, like this could be way sicker, but I'm telling you, and it already is cool, and it's just like it's a good thing that I hear that out of this, because when I have ideas, obviously I don't know, I like when I have ideas because that helps me give you ideas. But whatever synth that you have that's over that, I just really think that's like really not doing your tune justice. And I'm not sure if this becomes the second thingamabobber, or if this is supposed to be the second, but having a bunch of like, you know, spooky transitional noises or a really big riser over this, and then just like going ham and breaking sound as much as possible into like an IDM aspect, I think is probably where I would go. That makes the most sense to this tune. But don't get me wrong, as much as I would change that initial sound, or at least the melody of it for flip's sake, I do like a lot of the ideas that you have. And I think that this is a big improvement compared to what you sent to me last time. So yeah, that's what I got for that one. Okay, we've got Fiend, then we've got I Know, then we've got Fast Forward, and then we've got El Carbon. Okay, I think I'll change the melody from 40 to 51 seconds. Thanks so much for the ideas. Yeah, for sure, dude. Finn, forgive me, but what did you change since the last time you sent this in? And 8 extra bars to the high energy section. Okay. Because I think that like a lot of the advice that I gave from last week, which I don't remember quite what it was, still applies here. Like you've got 3 different sections here, but the problem with it is that I don't really think that it needs to be there. And the reason why is because like you don't give enough time for the first idea to develop enough in order for you to warrant the second change. It's just kind of like idea, idea, idea. And there's this fine line that you're walking here between making it sound like it has variation and then it sounding like it doesn't necessarily make sense. I know that you said that you're probably going to change that melody right here, but even still, I do think that there should be some kind of motif or something that alludes towards this chord progression that you have, because once this is introduced, like it doesn't do anything to tell any part of the story here. And so I think that if you can have some breaks or something like that that might have like a couple of these cuts, or maybe just like a small snippet right here between some of the fills, then that might help you build between the story. Or likewise, what you could do opposite or conversely is bring in this element of the dum 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 as that starts to creep in right here. But you've got this kind of like false buildup right here. For one, it doesn't have a riser, or it doesn't have any like kind of tension building. It just kind of gets louder, and then you've got these drums, then it doesn't do anything, and then it gets really quiet, and then it comes back up, which doesn't really like... You just have to think about the energy that you're trying to control within your audience about what you're trying to do, right? So like if you're trying to do like a double buildup or something, then maybe you might want to you might want to wash this part out with reverb and then slowly build back into this part. But right now, the way that these sections are connected doesn't really make sense towards the rest of the tune. And even still, like this second part isn't really that relative to this part either, because it's obviously a variation in that sense. But that new sound that you introduce, like there hasn't been any introduction to it, or there hasn't even been any introduction to it towards the rhythmic aspects. I can just tell that you've kind of just used the same sounds in that way. And so, like, don't get me wrong, it's really important to note that like you can do that, but the way that it's introduced in a way like doesn't really satisfy my ears in that sense, just because it's not like, it's like, okay, well, what was the purpose behind this? What are you trying to do with this section in general, as opposed to just having it as a second main section, right? And maybe that's just like the bias that I've started cultivating over time, is like really trying to make all of my sections and things make sense, as opposed to main section break, main section 2, right? So there could be that aspect to it, or maybe like you see or hear something that I don't, but at the same time, the way that I interpret this is that like I think that it needs a motif for one, or some kind of theme. And then 2, like it's an easy fix. Like I would really just like consider taking 1 or 2 of these elements either from this and cross-breeding it over here, or cross-pollinating rather, or doing the same thing but opposite into these sections and stuff. And I know that you bring back that same sound, that doop 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 doop, but when it comes back pretty abruptly in a way that like doesn't necessarily make sense for me towards the rest of the tune. And I hope that doesn't feel like a knock to you, because I think that there's a lot of really good things that you've done with this tune in particular. Like I really like the drum patterns and the spacing that you have is actually really well done. I just need, or I would want or hope that there's some kind of like common element or something that you can kind of fill and replace within some of those parts in order to actually make it seem like it's a cohesive arrangement, if that makes sense. And like you do go through this time of like having this like really nice chord progression, which sounds great, by the way, but what are you doing with this? And then what are you doing with like bringing it back here as well? Like, and that's a subjective question. I'm not saying that it doesn't belong or whatever, but what is the motive of that? That's the kind of deliberation that I would like to see you look into, because that's going to help you create these really abstract moments into beautiful pieces that will help bring you back into the abstract, or to help you tell those stories that you're trying to do with whatever sense that's supposed to be, as opposed to, I need something that's crazy, then I need something that's melodic, then I need something that's crazy. And to be honest, like what I'm describing is really hard to do, and that's why I don't finish a lot of my tunes anymore, or I had so much trouble finishing my tunes, was because that's the stuff that mattered to me. Right? That's the stuff that I was like, if I'm going to have these sections in here, it needs to make sense towards an overall theme. Otherwise, it just sounds like, you know, I just tried to make a main section and then put some music over to help it connect or whatever, and then do whatever. But if you can have some kind of like illusion, or some kind of, not illusion, but allusion, like you're alluding towards the next part in that way, that's an easy fix in order to make this part make sense towards the next part, and maybe even like make these two connect as well. Because remember, it's the same song. So if you can have them be somewhat like, if every part was different in here, like completely different, that would be one thing. But because you're trying to use some of the same elements in between, I think that it's important to have some kind of relationship between these two factors. Does that make sense? And that's why I'm giving you that specific kind of advice. If you went into something like completely AWOL over here and it was a completely narrative driven thing, I don't think that I'd be giving you the same advice. But because you're trying to find some way to bring this energy back after this part, that transition in itself needs to kind of make more sense, and as to like, where does it start? How did we get here? Okay, well, why are we going here? Okay, well, why are we going back to this? Or why are we revisiting like another location, or, you know, however you want to describe what this part is, and then why are we returning to that same idea within the bridge? And I know that's like really conceptual and all that stuff, but hopefully that's a couple of things to think about, because I think like the mixing and all that stuff is actually pretty good, and I do like a lot of the phrases that you have. But again, it's just like, what are you trying to say with this? And I think once you figure that out, then the rest of the tune will probably come together a lot easier. I definitely, think that like even within this section right here, this can actually be duplicated at least one more time. Oh, I totally forgot I was subbed here. Well, thanks for subbing, Sam. Thanks for the sub, Sam. But yeah, I think that this part can actually be twice as long. And then maybe you pick one or two of these other parts that will go into this. But yeah, I don't know. It's all just like, it's all pretty much just arrangement advice from this point, because your sound design's cool. Like I said, I really like the relationship that you have between the sounds and like your call and responses, and like your micro call and responses that you have. I just made that up. That's not coined or anything. It's not, it just works for this use case. But the idea, I would say, needs to develop into like a stronger relationship between the rest of the tune. And once you figure that out, I think this tune is going to be really freaking cool. So yeah, that's what I got for that one. Okay, I'm out of breath. I'm ready to listen again. Slept on this for a while. Gonna finish it tonight. Gonna change the halftime bit. Was wondering what other things I could do, and should I take the vocals out or not? Lol. Are these vocals copyrighted? I'm sorry, I have to ask. Wasn't really thinking thematically when writing. I'll start doing that. Well, like, and you don't necessarily have to, but at some point you're gonna run into the tune where you're like, okay, well, does this tune make sense? No, they're mine. Okay, just wondering. Thank you for answering that swiftly. But yeah, you know, at some point, like the song the song usually only has one title, right? And so that title usually has to encompass like some kind of general idea. And on one end, it does make it kind of linear, but on the other side of things, you can always like extend your title or like have different descriptions in order to like help fit the narrative within those parts to make them make sense. So like there's this duality that you can have in between. But because you've got all these different ideas that are trying to describe that one thing of eel walk, like what does that mean to you now, right? That you've kind of like got this idea together and such. And yeah, that's kind of a whole different beast about like titles and narrative and stuff. And on another end, that's going to be probably some kind of vodcast that nobody's going to watch or listen to, but still it's a good topic to at least discuss in that way. And that's just my philosophy towards making music these days, you know? And that's not necessarily something that you have to agree with. That's just how I think about, well, doing stuff. So yeah, good stuff, Finn. Okay. Let's listen to your tune with us.
I hate to say it, but you're perfect together and I can't fight this feeling anymore. But sorry, I have to kick in the door and say this once and for all. I can't fight this feeling anymore. I hate to say it, but you're perfect together and I can't fight this feeling anymore. But sorry, I have to kick in the door and say this once and for all. I can't fight this feeling anymore. On my own, high on life, that's all I've ever been. High on life, being with you would be like everything. You're a candle in the window on a cold, dark winter's night. Wrong with the changes, I know you never made it. Success is everything, achieve complete, that would be like everything. Taking a step forward, new directions, gonna make it you and me. On my own, high on life, that's all I've ever been. High on life, being with you would be like everything. You're a candle in the window on a cold, dark winter's night. I hate to say it, but you're perfect together and I can't fight this feeling anymore. But sorry, I have to kick in the door and say this once and for all. I can't fight this feeling anymore. I hate to say it, but you're perfect together and I can't fight this feeling anymore. But sorry, I have to kick in the door and say this once and for all. I can't fight this feeling anymore. Your personality, everything about you, just pure ecstasy. I still call you, but I get your machine. If we were together, it would be the greatest. Always thinking about how lucky it was if we made it. Safe haven of the sleepers. Running round my head, running round my mind. Time after time, you're the best, gonna try my best. Here I am, making bars on my own tracks. Who'd have thought that back in the day when we used to be so close? How things changed and how we were simple back then. A Jack and Coke, maybe a quick blend, going to Farrah, maybe then. But here we are again, maybe this will be it. But who knows how the story goes? Let's try and see where it goes.
Yo, this place. All right. I guess we'll talk about the vocals first. I think that the timbre of your voice works for the tune, but the problem is that they're so out of time that you get into like this poetry aspect of it, and it doesn't fit for me because you have a really fast beat, and so it sounds like you're kind of just talking over the beat, if that makes sense. So if you were to go back and tighten up your vocals, hold on one second, let me...
Sorry, I have to kick it, but you're perfect.
You know, if you have like really tight deliveries on that, I have to say it, say it, say it, say it. You're perfect, 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 perfect. You know, something like that, and then like maybe even adding delays and stuff to that. I think that you can minimize a lot of that stuff, or like you can still rap over this if you want, or like, you know, speak it in the way that's intended. But I think that the timing of the delivery could really use some work in that aspect. I really like that this aspect, like for the most part, like the aesthetic of this is almost like reminds me of like Silent Hill. And I think that if you actually maybe had like a trip hop part or something of just like, I think that would actually work really well for the guitar parts. And then also for the musical stuff that you have, like the melodies and stuff are really strong, but they can definitely use some harmonizing in some parts of like having layers of instruments or like chords, like a single chord even, or like a choir of just like, oh, you know, and like you kind of did that with the vocals over here, but they were kind of in a way that didn't really make sense towards like the melancholy of the tune. It just kind of sounded like somebody was singing like pop vocals over the tune in itself. That being said, I definitely think that this tune could probably be half as long. This transition is, let me see. Yeah, so that's like a minute and a half transition to get in between these two things, and then like it's like the same thing. So it's almost like you have this part, and then it kind of just repeats in that sense. And I wouldn't personally do that. I know that you said you were thinking about having a halftime part for this instead, but honestly, like, and this is just my personal opinion, but I wouldn't do that either. And the reason why is because it's not like, if you're going to do like a switch up like that, it should be in a way that completely changes the vibe of the tune, or like completely changes like, it's hard to say. I don't like when people, personally, I don't like when people have the same like musical idea and then they just go into a halftime just to make the drum pattern different. Like I think that it should be, if it's going to be used as a narrative aspect, like you should go into something that is almost like a completely different idea but within the same key, or maybe take the same motif and make something as abstract or as different as you can with that, right? I definitely think that you can just repeat the drum and bass part 2 times and maybe add, you know, just a little bit of a change up there or something here and there. But I don't think that you need to take another minute and a half to get to that same part that we've already heard, right? Because at this point, you've already given us all of the stuff. You've given us everything. So I definitely think that some variation could definitely help, but I would even say, like I said before, making the tune half as long, of just maybe cutting this part, and this part. I'm still trying to figure out what that video game character is doing. He's clapping. He's saying, yay. I don't know. But yeah, I think that these main sections and stuff are a little bit too long. Or maybe what you can even consider doing is figuring out a way to like bridge these two together, but doing more of a change up here. So that way all of the interest is in the middle of the tune, and then you can use this to kind of fade out or something. But I definitely think that the musical ideas, stop. The musical ideas can have some elaboration. The vocals can have some timing mixing, or like some timing checks. Or maybe like you can even just take like a couple of phrases that you have in there and then try to line that up and repeat that, because I think that like a lot of the same stuff that you're saying through this, it's not that your lyrics don't hold any value by any means, but you can at least convey the same emotion through like one or two lines that you have through there, so you can simplify. Or if you do want to rap it, I would just go back and try to like work on that delivery aspect, and then just being a little bit more concise with the arrangement or something in general. So that's probably what I would do with this tune. But if you have a different idea and stuff, then of course, by all means. But yeah, man, like a lot of times, like when I hear like a drum and bass tune that's kind of like in the liquid field go into the halftime thing, a lot of times it comes off as cheesy to me. I'm not saying that you can't pull it off and that you shouldn't do that. I'm just saying, like, I'm just trying to give you a warning, or like not even a warning, but just being like, hey, this is something that sticks out to me when people try to do this, and a lot of times it comes off in this particular way, right? So that's what I got for that one, man. All right, we've got Carbon, then Sam, then Misplaced, and then I think I'm gonna close the queue after that. Kind of quiet today, but it's cool. Thanks everyone for submitting. The Quayway is now closed. Nice one, thanks. Yeah, for sure. Hold on one sec, guys. Do you think you're still going to be streaming in like 15 minutes? Aren't you next? Wait, who is next? Wait. Oh, did you delete your thing, Vivis? I think Awful, or I Know is next. Yeah. Okay. If you skip mine, sorry I couldn't make it. Okay, yeah, Vivis deleted his. Okay. So I Know I'm next. A bit shy about this since I'm quite noob. I'll copy paste whatever on SoundCloud. Only halfway done. Really rough start. Complete noob to Ableton music production and embarrassed, looking for advice on what instruments to add and how to separate the frequencies being used by the elements I'm using now. They seem to clash. Okay. I was making sure that... Whoa! Okay. Wee woo, wee woo. All right. You have to share your private link. So if you're still here, you go to soundcloud.com. I have to sign in because I never do that. Signing in. There's my email. Oops. Sorry. Okay, you got it? This password appeared in data link? Holy shit, I gotta change my password. Hold on one second. Sorry guys, give me one sec. Okay. Dude, just take me back to SoundCloud, damn it. Okay. Okay, you got it though, so I don't need to pull that up. Hello. At least they know that they are awful at sharing. Stop. Okay. Yeah, for being a beginner, this is a pretty cool idea. Okay, so I'm gonna try not to give you too much advice. For one, I don't want you to feel like I'm gonna tear your tune apart, and I don't really think that it needs it, but I'm just gonna try to give you some ideas that you can kind of like practice or work on, if that makes sense. For one, if you listen right here, you've got a lot of spaces, and I think that having melodies or chord swells or even that same vocal stuff that you have can actually be really cool to fill some of those rhythmic gaps. No. Aww. Woo! You know, something like that. Could be really useful in that sense. I can also hear that you've got like the same reverb and the same delays over all the other instruments in here that you have, and like I wouldn't do that. I would try to have maybe some elements that are kind of dry with some elements that are in the background, and that will give you more depth of a mix. And then when you get to here for this particular section, for one, you've got a lot of you do have a lot of conflicting things, and that's because like your mids are all, for one, sitting in the middle. And also, you could probably do away with some high passing on some other specific things, especially like that kind of like saw type neener thing. That thing. It sounds really cool, but you can pan that out to the side, and then you can also do what's called a mid-side EQ. Just look it up. I'm not going to really go over it right now, but you can do mid-side EQ to your vocals, so that way your vocals are only sitting on the sides, and then that opens up the middle for that super saw to kind of still kind of shine through the middle. And then I think that once you get to this part too, like what you can do is even add just a little bit of white noise on top, or maybe even an octave above, so that way like you're still building the energy. And you can also use maybe like a ride or something, like a to just make that super exciting. And then really when you get to this part, maybe what I would do is keep the same chord progression of the bum, 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 but put it with a filter, and then maybe just kind of like bring the drums back or something and do some kind of solo, or play some kind of, other melody or something that builds back up into this section in its own right. But other than that, I don't think that I want to say too much else, just because you say that you're a beginner, so I don't want to be like, do this, because I don't know how much of that you're going to even know how to apply or remember or whatever. And I don't mean that in a mean way, but I want you to be able to like come out of here being able to take something away, as opposed to being like, oh, what the fuck? Because that's happened to me several times whenever I asked somebody for feedback. It just kind of tore it apart, and it was way too many things to remember. But yeah, I definitely think this is a cool idea. You're off to a great start. Just keep working at it. And I would if you're like kind of nervous about mixing and stuff, then the two things that you want to consider, well, there's a few things that you want to consider. Volume, like as an amplitude, stereo imaging, and then frequency content. Is there something I'm forgetting, guys? I think that's yeah. Volume, stereo image, and frequency content. And so what I would do is just like look up how an EQ works, look up stereo imaging, and look up phase cancellation, and how to make things quote unquote wide, which you'll likely stumble upon mid-side EQ. And then like the leveling aspect is just turning down your faders and trying to get everything to a consistent volume. So that's probably like the easiest to understand, but the hardest to apply, if that makes sense. I do think that mixing is like, does this sit right in a way that I'm happy? So yeah, that's what I would do. Good stuff though, man. Don't be shy. I don't really roast tunes. I kind of just say, okay, well, here's what you got, and here's maybe some suggestions, because I don't think that it's very helpful to be like, well, this is trash or this is terrible or whatever. So yeah, also guys, he's only got one follower, or she or they, sorry for assuming, but go follow them and show some love and introduce them to the community. Okay, Carbon, you're next. Yo, I'm not in stream right now, but I missed last week. I'll type in chat when I'm there, so if I'm not yet, please, I'm here. Oh, okay, never mind, I'm here now. What the okay. Insane.
Right now, right now. Right now, right now. Really faded right now, right now. Faded right now, right now. Really faded right now, right now. Right now, right now. Really faded right now, right now. 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 Right now, right now.
Sorry, my dog is snoring super loud. So that was really cool. Obviously, that buildup right there needs like some kind of... Oh my god, my eyes. Fuck. My eyes! This part, right, I'm like squinting. This part right here needs like a filter or something that goes up into this part. This stuff, really cool. I wouldn't really change anything. That sounds really good. Maybe adding some like... Yeah, maybe just like adding some space here and there of like blah, and I think that could actually be really useful, because right now it kind of just like is a wall of sound. So like if you have like a space that's in maybe one or two places throughout this, then that will do like a lot of favors of like, it's almost like playing red light, green light with bass house music, right? Green light, dance, red light, green light, and then like that kind of like brings like this element of swing and rhythm that makes the tune really fun. And I think that you have the energy for that, but there's also like some of those moments in there that you can just have that kind of stop, or like have that like brief moment of not necessarily silence, but I would call it space, and then like you kind of continue the groove in that way. Or maybe just have that fill with like a more quiet sound. Joyride does that all the time. Go listen to, fuck, what's that tune? Harikari. You can hear that he does that quite a bit within that. And then what I would do is maybe try to one up this, and so I would add more noise, or like maybe even a top layer or something to like really make that pump. And then what I would like to hear is like to hear a more focused thing of like just at the low end with the kick and snare, or like with the kick and clap of like you know, something like that to really like get the beat going and like give somebody like a longer chance to dance or whatever. And then you can kind of just bring this aspect back and then kind of repeat it or just do some small changes and stuff. But it's a bass house tune, so it doesn't really need to have that much variation in it. You know what I mean? Unless if you're trying to do like the actual joyride thing where, you know, you have some kind of dubstep part or some shit and I don't know. You've got a lot of options within that sense, so it really just comes down to a matter of like what you want to do with the tune. But I think that like this initial concept is strong enough that like there's a lot that you can do. It's just a matter of where you want to take it, if that makes sense. But yeah, dude, this is a really cool idea. The biggest thing is I would fix this transition right here because you're not changing the dynamics at all. So I would kind of filter that out and then slowly bring it back up and then bring some kind of car alarm or something because that's what everybody does these days with this kind of music. Okay, good stuff. Sam, you're next, and then we're going to finish off with misplaced music. Not sure where to go from here, but I do like this track, so not sure. Please be memes. Please be memes. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, this is really cool. I think like really what I would do is just take my time with this. So for one, I would maybe like try to find a way to get into the ambience, if that makes sense, because right now it kind of just starts there. And so if you have like a swell or something or like some kind of background noises that kind of like allude to getting to this point of focus, I think that would be really good. But what I would also like to hear is just having a part that's just focused on that low end and that nice, like really cool, kind of like clicky snare. Without the vocals at first, of just like building some like really wide ambience right here as opposed to it going down, or maybe it gets really big right here and then it kind of fades out and then kind of like dropping this in this aspect and then just letting it be like right, because okay, so you've got that pad in the background, and what I would do is maybe just wash it out of like boom 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 boom, and then use like a reverse vocal right there, and just add a little bit to it in that sense, and then eventually get to the vocal. But I think if you did that, that would almost like double the amount of time that you have through that. Does that make sense to you, Sam? But I really think that like the strongest point that you have through the tune that I really want to see you flesh out is actually right here without that pad in the back, and really just focus on like the deepness of the drums that you have, because it sounded really good. And at first I heard it and then like the pad kind of came in and that kind of threw me off a bit. But I think that if you really just kind of focused on that and maybe use more delayed elements as opposed to sustain elements in this part, that it's going to have just like this really dense, I think that's the best way to describe it, but this really dense emotion that you're trying to flesh out. And so like you're off to a good start. Let's just say that. It's off to a good start, but like I think, and I would challenge you to go even deeper and like really don't be afraid to like try to use some of those rhythmic elements and those musical cues to really try to pull somebody into that rhythm in that low end. And I think that once you do that and you slowly introduce maybe like a reverse vocal into that, and then you slowly start to add the pads or the ambience coming back in, that you're going to have like a really emotional tune. And I mean that in a good way, right? And I think that, like, for me personally, I think that if you did that though, it would change the vibe a bit. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm just telling you what I hear personally. But maybe what I would even do is like maybe make those vocals just a little bit more quiet and a little bit darker, and make them more as ghosts as opposed to somebody singing over it. Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, but like for these vocals and stuff, like maybe it's not even in the sense that I'm telling you that this would change the vibe. It's that this vibe is different than this vibe whenever the vocals come in. So maybe if you have something to where like you time stretch that vocal out and then you add more delay to it where it has spaces, and then maybe you have one instance during the bridge or something that has that full phrase, but very quiet and very subtle, that'll open up like more possibilities for you to interpret like more emotional melodies and stuff, but it will still maintain like the aspect of like somebody is talking, right? Of something in that sense. And so that's kind of what maybe I would do. But you know me, and you know that I like to make like really ghostly vibes in that sense. And so whether or not that aligns with your vision of the tune is kind of up to you, but that's what I would do personally. But whatever you do, I would definitely add that just like really deep sense of just boom boom dum ka boom 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 dum ka boom boom dum ka boom 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 ka boom boom ka boom boom ka. Hopefully that makes enough sense, the way that I see that in that way. But I think that that would make this tune like super pretty in that way. But yeah, dude, really cool idea. It's not what a concept, but I don't know if that's beatable. I'm just kidding. All right, Misplaced, you're last, dude. It's a fucking drop, mate. Sorry, vulgar. This was cool. It reminds me of like what's that one tune? Gibbled? No, no, no. You guys know what I'm talking about? Cardo Pusher. Go look that tune up. That's what this tune reminds me of. But yeah, it's kind of, this is actually like the most focused thing I think that you've ever sent, and that's not necessarily like a bad thing. It's kind of cool. But I think what I would do is maybe just find other ways that you can add maybe a little bit more high energy as the tune progresses. But really, the only thing that I do not know, I should look it up, is just maybe having some kind of like chill rhythmic thing at the beginning, and then maybe like not even necessarily a skank, but like some kind of vocal of like, you know, Ganja man, have some kind of thing right there, and then just like hop right into the beat and just like have fun with playing with the wonkiness aspect of it. I don't think that it needs like super crazy transitions or anything of that sense. Like, you've kind of built this really cool vibe of like this groove, and then what you would kind of aim to do is to try to keep somebody in that as long as possible. So the way that I would go about that is just adding like little subtle variations over time, and then adding like extra elements or pulling elements away to kind of, you know, keep somebody in the groove in that way. And then, you know, you can kind of just have like a break or whatever and either go into something musical or go into the same thing. Or even just have this be like a dub plate, because this is a really cool idea on its own. And I don't think that, like, aside from, you've got a really cool, like, the beginning works, I think that it could use a little bit more, and then you also don't have like a way to get out of it. And so like maybe having some kind of reverberated thing, or, you know, even repeating some parts of this could be fine. Hey Yoku, but this idea is pretty strong already, and I think that just having it as being like a cool little jam or just a drop in its own right could actually be like a really cool thing that you could add to an EP or even an album as just like a skit, right? But if you want to make it into a stronger tune, or like if you want to make it into like a full, I'd say 3-minute tune or something, right? Then you pretty much just want to think about like, what is the theme of this, and what can you do to create a beginning, a middle, and how can you get back to this, right? But you've pretty much done the hardest part of the tune, which is create something that's jammable, that's groovable. So now it's just a matter of thinking about, okay, well, where do I want this to go, and how do I want to get here? Or wait, I would say the opposite. How do I want to get here, and then where do I want this to go chronologically? But other than that, I think that this tune is pretty cool. Whoop! Like, what might even be cool if you want to continue this beat is to go back to this, but like take away all of the other rhythmic elements, and then just do like a kick snare of just like a transition. It's wonky, dude. And then just like build it back up or something. So you've got a lot of options that you can do. It's really just a matter of like where you want to take the tune, right? But yeah, I don't know. For some reason, this tune reminded me a lot of that Gibble tune. It's not, it doesn't even have the same vibe. It's just a matter of like, it just reminded me of it, if that makes sense. Hey, Dark Meta. But yeah, that's what I got for this tune. I don't really have anything else. Yoku, I closed the queue. I'm sorry. I closed the queue 30 minutes ago. Maybe not quite 30 minutes ago. 25 minutes ago. That's perfect. I have many ideas now. I'm sorry. It's Gibbled, Cardo Pusher. But I think that you can definitely take inspiration from the intro of just that. Not the remix version, the original. I'm sorry, Yoku. But yeah, so I've actually been considering opening. No, dude, you're totally fine. I'm sorry. I wish I had time and energy for everybody, but I'm actually considering like opening up another feedback stream, but like an exclusive one. Or maybe another one that's a different time, just because I get a lot of suggestions or comments or like disappointment that I can't do feedback during their time, or like during their preferred time. Okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah, for sure, man. So I don't know. I'm thinking about even doing like a Discord feedback stream where I take in whoever, like, even if it's a finished tune, I'll take anything in because it's on Discord and you can't get, you know, copyright flagged for that. But I'm considering doing that maybe for like members or something, just so that way they have another outlet in which to share their music and like get that idea from. It goes against like how I feel about feedback, but at the same time, it could be a way that, for one, I can continue to build members and like give you guys something valuable, but at the same time, it will give you another time slot for feedback, and you could submit whatever you want. So I don't know. I'm on the fence about it, but I don't know. I'm always trying to grow and just trying to, you know, make my channel better. Making my channel better. If you guys aren't subscribed, by the way, please do me a favor and subscribe. I've been getting like little to no interaction on my channel as of late, and it's very disheartening. So if you could make a brother happy by liking the video or tossing a sub or something, or telling your friends about me or something, and in a good way, not the bad way. But yeah, does anybody have any final questions or anything? Any thoughts before I go?
Any last word? Excuse me. Any last words?
Nope. Okay. Well, much love to you all. Thank you so much for joining me today on this lovely Thursday. I hope that you guys have an amazing weekend. I will be streaming tomorrow, doing production. I will not be streaming Saturday because someone's coming to town and I got to go pick them up from the airport and I got things to do. So there's that. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you guys. Much love. Thanks again. And I will see you all tomorrow.